Do you know what this sound is? This is the sound of years of hard work finally paying off. This is the sound of an entire room of people desperately rallying around the person they want to win. This is the sound of everyone turning off their favorite game in the world to scream their heart out and cheer and jeer to the gameplay of two players on stage who might be having the most important moment in their competitive career. This is the sound of a Super Smash Bros. Melee Grand Finals. Over the years, we've seen some certified classics, but at the same time, not all Grand Final sets are created equal. Sometimes the gas tank wears out, and while there were a couple banger sets throughout the tournament, some Grands are a wash. Sometimes the expected player wins the tournament, and some people head to the after party during the set. But on some special occasions, the last set of the day was the most memorable and got everyone in the crowd, and even some watching from home, on their feet screaming in excitement. Today we'll be highlighting those unforgettable Grand Final sets that not only left a lasting impression on the people closely following, but also inspired people to go to a tournament for the first time. While our list only has 10 spots, there are certainly plenty of Grand Finals that absolutely could have made the cut. So if there's one that you think should have been mentioned, let us know why that set is important to you, or just be an asshole in the comments. Allston Christmas is just around the corner, and here's Allston Melee's 10 unforgettable SSBM Grand Finals. Shouts out to Monkey for being the only one to request this video. Leave a comment for what top 10 you want to see next. And number 10, Kings of Cali 1. November 10th, 2012 was home to one of the most legendary Falco Dittos in Melee's competitive existence. But in the build-up to that fight, Mango would be showing signs of dominance that he once had in 2008. With repeated first-place finishes leading up to Kings of Cali, the SoCal hero would be an easy first seed above the other 120 entrants coming from the US. On the other side of the bracket, then Dr. PP, now PPMD, had been making a serious name for himself, having been the random dude from North Carolina who beat Hungrybox just a couple years prior. But by Kings of Cali in 2012, PPMD had taken sets off of all four of the players considered to be the best in the world. But the Mango dub had an asterisk. At Winter Games Fest a year prior, PPMD had taken his first set against the Norwalk native, but Mango had gone all Captain Falcon throughout both sets. While PP took first place at the event, he had been headhunting Mango in the events following. A rivalry had been brewing since PP placed higher with Falco at ROM 2, but he still hadn't got a real chance at the kids' mains. Once a possible student, now an adversary, at Kings of Cali, each player would take W's on their projected path, eventually meeting in Winners Finals. The first stock of Winners Finals would set the tone for this battle, with Mango taking a quick 3-0 win in less than 10 minutes. For a moment in PP's career, it really did feel like Mango was the only one at the top level to have a clear answer against the up-and-coming North Carolina dual main. But one Game 5 Losers Final set later, Mango would find himself against PP yet again. This time with a W next to Mango's name and an L next to PP's, this set was immediately different. Similar to the first combo Mango had in Winners Finals, PP would answer back and find himself on the verge of 4-stalking Mango. The Grand Final set that followed would be some of the highest Falco Dittos ever played, with both players constantly swinging for the fences and continuously executing flawless edge guards back and forth. With PP taking the first set Game 5, the second set would continue to be a banger, with both players able to say that they were playing hot. 4 intense games of Falco Dittos later, PP could not only say that he had defeated Mango fair and square, but had officially beaten and won tournaments over all of the best players in the world. PP would be the final player to join the Mount Rushmore of Melee, and these 5 players soon labeled as gods wouldn't have another player to compete at their level for another 3 years. Dr. PP's dub at Kings of Cali cemented himself as one of the best players in the world while providing a legendary set of Falco Dittos that debatably still hasn't been overcome to this day. Number 9, Smash and Splash 5. Smash and Splash 5 was fucking stacked. With an entrant list filled with everybody who is anybody, Hungrybox would still be an easy first seed at the event and cruise through his bracket until Winners Finals. On the other side of the bracket, tournament projections would be destroyed with upsets galore. With Mango and Leffen duking it out for 7th place, and all Florida Winners Finals would occur, with Wizrobe defeating Nunn, Leffen, and Amsa to make it to H-Box. While Wizrobe had been able to take sets off the #1 player in the world, he hadn't been able to win a tournament over H-Box at the major level. With a 16-6 set count in Hungrybox's favor going into Winners Finals, Wizrobe would make that 16-7, taking a decisive 3-1 win. While Wizrobe was sitting pretty in winner's side of Grands, the lingering clamors of doubt were still present. A Captain Falcon had not won a super major since the days of Ken and Isaiah, and Hungrybox was a player known for turning on the Jets when in a pickle. And there's a very good reason the Florida Puff main has the nickname Clutchbox. While fans were hopeful for an unexpected result, that outcome felt like a far and away dream, and the two other players in the top 3 seemed like the likely winner of Smash and Splash 5. With HBox defeating Leffen Game 5, the first 3 minutes of Grand Finals felt like the result Wizzy fans were scared of. But one Falcon punch, a couple of back airs, and 2 knees later, Wizrobe would claw back Game 1 from the clutches of Clutchbox. Finding ourselves on Fountain of Dream for Game 2, a stage known for being a routine counterpick against Falcon, and a stage HBox had decisively won in their previous winner's final set, a last stock tight battle would yet again end with a knee and mini pop-off from the young veteran. Finding himself 1 game away from rewriting Melee's history, Wizrobe had his work cut out for him. Even down 2-0 on the loser side of Grands, you can never count Hungrybox out. As the second Fountain counterpick game played out, it would start to bring reality back to Lake Delton, Wisconsin. Continuously being a stock ahead in Game 4, the impending doom of a Game 5 was just one wall of pain away. But all of a sudden...
He's a little jump shot right now. Yeah. He doesn't have a lot. He's in the corner. Wizzy has a lot of stage to play with.
That's it!
The knee.
That's it!
Wizrobe! Oh! What was that?
Wizrobe would find a nair knee in the middle of Dreamland, sending HBox just barely outside the blast zone to become the first Captain Falcon main to win a super major in 14 long years. At Smash and Splash 5, Wizrobe proved that he was not just a counterpick to HBox's game plans or a Captain Falcon main to watch out for, but truly one of the best players in the world. Number 8, Shine 2018. By 2018, Melee's highest level of competition was starting to look a lot different than it had in years before. While the stories of gods and godslayers will be forever cemented in our history, several of those 6 best players in the world had been far less active or even full-blown retired from the game. With Mango, Leffen, and Hungrybox being some of the last active players cut from that sacred cloth, a couple of up-and-comers were starting to nip at the heels of the top echelon. While Zane's undefeated record against Mango in the 2 sets they had played was nothing to take lightly, the Zane vs HBox record was pretty ugly. Going into Shine 2018, Zane was 0-8 in sets against Hungrybox and had only taken a total of 3 games. While the last set they had played was the most promising, it really felt like Zane needed the perfect bracket in order to win a super major. And at Shine 2018, he did not get a perfect bracket. Defeating Lucky and None to make winter semis, Zane would be matched yet again with his bracket demon. While this video is not called 10 best winter semis, the set that took place is still one that we go back to because for the first time in his career, Zane would win 3 games before Hungrybox did. Coming off of a Game 5 dub against the Bandana Balloon, the stress and intensity levels would not halt there, and Zane would again find himself in a Game 5 versus Melee's highest caliber of players, and continue his undefeated streak against Mango. Winning 2 Game 5s against HBox and Mango, Zane would be placed in winner's side of Grand Finals and have his best shot at winning a major yet. But as we've already gone over, that Clutchbox gets powered up when down and out like Goku when his friends die. The event's finale would be one of the most tense and nerve-wracking Grand Finals we have ever seen. We have to mention that the best players in the world had been winning the tournament consistently for over a decade, and coming from us at Allston Melee who were there screaming in the crowd, the bated breaths in between stocks felt like a fucking lifetime. While Game 1 was promising enough, the feeling really started to sink in when Zane took the second game on the stage considered to be the hardest counterpick in the matchup. Going back to Dreamland for Game 3, Hungrybox would consistently be up a stock, eventually winning on his counterpick and making everyone question what the remainder of the set would entail. Going to Yoshi's Story for Game 4, Zane had counterpicked a stage he was down 2-10 on HBox before the event. With the game going down to the last stock, the fear of a rest ending it was constantly lingering every time HBox touched Zane. Even with the puff at 100%, the feeling of one hit away somehow felt in Hungrybox's favor. But the continued innovations from this next best player in the world would be present, and Zayn would pull off an unconventional 3-hit kill confirm to become one of the only players in the world to say that they have won the highest tier of Melee events. This Grand Finals absolutely set the tone for Zayn's continued rise in this community, because Zayn proved for the first time you don't need to be playing Melee competitively for 10 plus years in order to win a super major over the best players in the world. Number 7, Beast 5. What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer? Armada is one of the most legendary players to ever pick up a GameCube controller. By the time we had rankings for Melee in 2013, Armada would not be ranked lower than second for the remainder of his career. Defending his title at some of the biggest tournaments in the world, the Peach main was practically unstoppable for players not labeled as gods. But after Apex 2013, Armada would retire from the game. For like a year. While Armada was already a strong force at all of the biggest events in the US, his dominance over Europe was a whole different ballgame. No, wait, we should use a European term. Armada's dominance over Europe was a whole different cricket game. Whole different rugby game. Was a whole different Swedish fish to fry. His dominance over Europe was a whole different thing. From 2009 on, Armada would remain undefeated at EU events, consistently taking first place across the board, rarely ever dropping a set. His vice grip over talented players would make his opponents in top 8 look like his sets in winners round 1. But there was one player who seemed to stand a chance. Throughout 2012 to 2013, Leffen would become the first player to begin having competitive sets with Armada on their home turf. While Leffen was solidly defeating the other top-ranked players in Europe, Armada returned to Melee at Beast 4 and experienced for himself how good Leffen had gotten. Coming from losers after dropping a rare set to Ice, Leffen would unexpectedly 6-1 Armada. Becoming the first person to beat the Peach main at an EU event since 2009, Leffen would force the Swedish sniper to switch his weapon in a Hail Mary attempt, with Armada playing Foxitos for the first time ever in his tournament career. 1 year later. Beast 5 would go down in Melee's history books for multiple reasons. A full year since his return, Armada would barely miss a beat and start seeing similar results at overseas events as he did before his soft retirement. But one thing had changed for certain. Leffen had taken 2 sets off of Armada in the years since the tournament, including a notable Game 5 win for Leffen at Big House 5. But Beast 5 wouldn't just be the Armada vs Leffen show, as Mango would travel out to Gothenburg, Sweden to join the party. With Armada and Leffen meeting in winter semis, Leffen would start to popularize the options we expect to see in modern Fox vs Peach and would look incredible while defeating Armada 3-1. Matching up with Mango in winners finals, a tight battle Game 5 would end with Leffen officially taking his first victory over the SoCal legend and be able to cross off 4 out of 5 of the gods' names on his hit list. With Armada 3-0ing Mango in losers finals, one of the most legendary and high-level grand finals in EU Melee was about to take place. In the 5 games Armada and Leffen played in the first set, Armada's never-ending punish game was on full display. But for one of the first times, the other player was able to hit Armada just as hard as he hit them. Going down to Game 5, this time without any of the excuses of inactivity, Leffen would showcase that it was possible to defeat this iron-clawed mech princess, blatantly laying out and perfectly executing the correct way to beat Armada. 1 year later, Leffen would defeat Mewtwo King, becoming the first player ever to defeat all 5 gods in their prime, and fully solidifying himself in the history books as Melee's Godslayer. And it all snowballed after that one win at Beast 5. Number 6, Apex 2015. A summarization of the Melee scene. One of the worst tournaments ever held logistically, was also one of the most impactful. Apex 2015 was rife with countless issues, with the venue literally collapsing and forcing a last-minute change and loss of a pivotal day 1. Event issues aside, this would be the first SSBM tournament to ever break 1,000 entrants and get a nod from Nintendo as a sponsor. The Melee scene would step up to the plate when it needed to, as this event overall would become one of the most viewed tournaments ever in Melee's history. With countless storylines being born throughout the event, such as the 2 new characters PP and Armada were using, the bustering of Mango, or the true rise of Leffen, the finale would be a grand final set between Armada and PPMD, taking place at 2 in the morning East Coast time. We have to again emphasize the fact that this set had all eyes on it, both in and out of the community, and the grand finals set would be everything we could ask for. In 2014, PP and Armada would trade sets, bringing their lifetime record to 6-9 in Armada's favor. While PPMD had won the previous Apex over M2K, the Piss Doctor? No, we're not. Fine, I'll say it. The Piss Doctor had only seriously competed at 3 majors since then, and the conversations of his retirement were still relevant. But at Apex 2015, PP's Falco, the character he had been known for, would be losing to Armada by a considerable margin in the past sets, while the brand new Marth would be almost even with Armada's Peach. On the other side, having never gone Fox against PP, both players debuted their new characters in Game 1 of Grands. With Armada coming from losers, the Swedish powerhouse would have a large lead in the set, taking the first 2 games. Being 1 game away from losing the first set 3-0, the ever so stoic PPMD would take some advice from the screaming crowd.
All right, Armada, looking really solid in Fox Marth. Yeah, like you said, this is somewhat of a different matchup in PAL, where Shine knocks down the biggest difference, which means that Wave Shine Up Smash and Wave Shine Grab do not connect.
With a sea of bodies convincing him to go Falco, classic North Carolina chants were screamed behind him as PP would respond by winning a tight battle Game 3 and a 2-stock win Game 4. Making an unconventional switch to Marth for Game 5 on a stage that was considered to be one of the weakest for the characters, Armada would take the first set of Grands on Dreamland, bringing both players to losers. Now approximately 2:30 in the morning, the next 10 minutes would be totally in the Marth's favor. PPMD would have multiple clean combo clips, closing the tournament with a 3-0 victory, being greeted on stage by a horde of screaming friends. You can literally feel the weight of pressure being lifted off the shoulders of this Melee legend as PPMD proved all the doubters wrong with this monumental dub. Number 5, Super Smash Con 2018. New heads today might never understand Armada's reign over the Melee scene. This player single-handedly made Peach the character that she is today because Armada made this extremely slow princess move like the fastest character in the game. His punish game hit like a brick wall, his edge guarding was optimized past anyone else's, and he really was one of the hardest people to beat at the tournament. On August 9, 2018, more than 1,000 people showed up to Virginia to play Melee. Featuring 4 of the active gods, Mewtwo appearance in the bracket would be questioned as his results had been dwindling off since taking other Smash games more seriously. With HBox Armada being the projected Grands, the seeding would ring true all the way till winners finals. With Armada pulling a clean 3-0 sweep over HBox, Mewtwo and Hungrybox would play out a losers finals that had a Puff's name written all over it. But pulling off an extremely unexpected, dominant 3-0 and playing as tertiary Fox all 3 games, M2K had the most shocking upset of the event. We don't count this one. Let's just move on. Being the clear underdog, there was still hope for Mewtwo believers as he pulled off a stunning performance at Smash Summit 6 pretty recently, defeating Armada in 2 sets to take the tournament from losers. But pretty much everyone else was expecting this to be on par with their 6-25 set record in Armada's favor. And then, an unexpected classic of a grand finals took place. While the Peach vs Marth matchup is undoubtedly in Marth's favor, Armada wrote the fucking book on how to beat Marth as Peach. On the other hand, Mewtwo is extremely well versed at dealing with floaties and projectiles while playing the long game with a long sword to avoid overextending. Throughout the entirety of Grands, the set would constantly swing back and forth with a minute margin of error, each player winning on their counterpick literally every single time except for Game 2, costing Armada the first set. With 2 Game 5s back to back, a Game 10 Grand Finals would act as the spark notes for the entire set, each player consistently answering back every time a stock was taken. As the dust settled, the first stock taken by Armada would be one of the determining factors, and the confetti would fall as Armada claimed first place at Super Smash Con 2018 after 52 minutes of gameplay. As of the recording of this video, this legendary Game 10 Grand Final set is the last time Armada competed in Melee singles, as he would retire for real from the game very soon after. Game 10s are pretty damn rare in Melee Grand Finals, but this extremely back and forth set is no doubt one to go out on. The legacy of one of the best players to ever do it can be relived by watching the dominance Armada had throughout multiple eras of Melee, but this set is one of our favorites to go back to. Number 4. EVO 2016. There was a time in Melee's life where two players were consistently seated and placed above the rest. A time where a Swedish god had struggled so much with the two others at the top that he dropped the thing he was known for and unleashed a whole new groundbreaking character. A time where we questioned everything we thought we knew about the tier list that had come before us, and a time where two players ruled the world. Armada and Hungrybox's rivalry was one of the most constant affairs to ever happen in Melee's history. Playing 12 sets in 2015 alone, most of which were in grand finals, these players have gone back and forth since their first set at Apex 2010. Armada and HBox would become such a constant in grand finals that people would eventually cheer against these players in earlier parts of bracket solely in hopes that a different player could potentially win the tournament. While these two players ruled the world, so did a certain best of 3 until finals tournament. EVO was the biggest stage the Melee community has ever seen, and that is still kinda true to this day. While the prize pools and viewerships may not match the events we've had in recent times, Melee Top 8 would take place in the massive arena inside of the Mandalay Bay, considered to be the FGC's Super Bowl. Regardless of countless complaints about EVO's bracket structure for Melee, every high-level player's dream was to pop off to a screaming crowd of almost 10,000 people. With Armada 3-0ing a Plup who just beat HBox, and Mango and Plup soon being eliminated for 4th and 3rd place respectively, the grand finals we all saw coming was slated to take place in front of a crowd that at best had an eighth of the audience even aware of who these players were. The Melee fans in attendance prayed for a grand finals void of ledge camping and filled with the things that we love about Melee, and Armada and Hungrybox would undoubtedly put on a show that the Melee community could be proud to display. An intense back and forth of matchup knowledge and some of the highest level of gameplay was shown to an audience who mostly had no idea what the fuck was going on, but still would get the crowd on their feet. Going to Game 5 in the first set of grands with HBox and losers, the 2 stocks to a 1 over 100% puff looked like the finale. And with an up throw up air, Armada would get SDI'd out of winning EVO 2016. And after an edge guard and an insanely clutch rest later, Hungrybox would take the first set of grand finals. 5 extremely tight and down to the wire games later, this set would end up being the only grand finals in Melee's history at EVO to go the full distance. Game 10 would come down to a last stock scenario with Hungrybox very much leading in percent, and a tournament winner from Armada would lead to one of the most legendary pop-offs in Melee. Hungrybox would win his first and only EVO, and the pop-off would create a moment in Melee forever cemented in our scene. Number 3. Genesis 1 and 2. We include both of these tournaments as one entry because of the conjoined impact that these events had on modern Melee. With 290 entrants coming from across the globe, Genesis 1 in 2009 was the biggest event for Melee to that point. This era would see Mango, the Puffbane with a Falco secondary, routinely stomp out any other players in his bracket path and see a streak of dominance in SSBM that was starting to be compared to the King of Smashes. But at the first Genesis, a new challenger emerged from the depths of Sweden. With US players doubting the talent of European players and Peach in general, Armada was expected to just barely meet the upper bracket, and his first set in pools wouldn't do him any favors. Losing Game 1 to What Is Fear, an old school Ganon main, Armada would rally in the next 2 games, winning a close 2-1 and blaming a laggy CRT for his Game 1 slip. Leaving 7 talented and revered players in his wake, Armada and Mango were matched up to play in bracket for the first time in winners finals of Genesis 1. With Armada taking Game 1 over Mango's Puff, Mango would switch to his secondary Falco for the following games of the set. While today, Mango's Spaceys are what he's known for, in this time, people associated these characters with Mango not taking the game seriously. Much to the dismay and utter surprise of the California crowd, Armada beat Mango's Falco Game 5. Soon after, Mango would 3-0 HBox and Puff Dittos to make it back to Armada in Grands. While Puff Peach is a floaty v floaty matchup that might get an audible groan from the crowd, this grand final set was a banger with multiple notable clips.
Everyone's yelling, it's so hype. Mango, 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 Mango.
Going back and forth in the first set, Mango would win Game 5 to reset the bracket and 3-0 Armada in the final set of the tournament. Although Armada had fallen short, He no doubt established himself as a top dog of Melee, and US players could no longer doubt the talent coming from Europe's finest. 2 years later, attending 3 tournaments in the US since Genesis, Armada would continue to be a strong force at events, but still hadn't taken first place at a North American event. Mango, on the other hand, he'd been kind of throwing. Self-admitting that the Genesis champ was bored with the current scope of competitive Melee, and even heavily considering putting the controller down for good, it was very common to see Mango going a wide assortment of characters, even at the biggest tournaments. By the time Genesis 2 was coming around, Mango was seeing success with his Fox and Falco, pretty much only going Jigglypuff in dire scenarios. Pound 5, a tournament that very much could have made this list, was the first tournament featuring both Mango and Armada since Genesis 1, where we would see Mango buster out for 17th place and Armada taking a more than respectable second under PPMD. To set the stage for Genesis 2, the Melee scene was very different from the one that we have today. While our in-person majors can happen once or twice a month, the biggest events in Melee at this time would happen at best about once every 4 months. Traveling to an event as a top player to prove your worth would mean so much more, solely because you have no idea when or where the next chance will be. Coming out the gates hot at Genesis 2, a recent rare Mango W over Mewtwo and PP in the final bracket would be extremely promising for the Cali crowd. But ending the winner's run, Taj, a Marth Mewtwo dual main on the run of his life, would defeat Mango Game 5 in winner semis, unleashing losers bracket Mango. With Armada smooth sailing up into winner-side grands, Mango, possibly sick of losing to the players he thought he should beat, would turn up the jets for one of the first times since Genesis 1 and debut the true skill of the characters still labeled as his secondaries. Dominantly 3-0ing H-Box with Fox in loser semis, Mango would get his run back on Taj, and then this happened.
Mango when he's playing this girl.
Mango's playing fucking amazing. I really don't see Taj beating him. A punky controller, dog. A punky controller. Forfeit, my He forfeits. He forfeits.
Being one of the only players to ever 2-0 someone in a best of 5, Mango and Armada would yet again meet in grand finals of Genesis. Throughout the set, both players would showcase some of the highest peaks of the characters seen in tournament yet in the most important and nerve-wracking set of the event. Whether it was Armada's total control over edge guards and ruthless punish game, or Mango's hyper-aggressive style lasting the entire set with an insane and unconventional combo game, Brandon and Phil would scream their heads off, conveying the feeling in the room. Trading wins up until Game 5, a last stock situation would end the tournament, with Armada taking his first win at a US major. Not only was this set extremely important in terms of proving that this Peach player was here to stay, but it debatably pulled Mango back to trying his hardest at events and becoming one of, if not the, best spacey players to ever do it. This grand final set would leave a lasting impression on Genesis, and we'd continue to see these two legends of Melee become longtime rivals and go on to again meet in grand finals at the best tournament in the world. Number 2, Smash Summit 11. As of the recording of this video, Summit 11 is by far the biggest prize pool to ever happen in Melee's history, with a mind-blowing 155 grand crowdfunded into the pot. But not only did this tournament feature a monumental payout, it was seriously one of the most important events in Melee's recent times. Over a year and a half had passed since the last in-person SSBM major. This has literally never happened in Melee's competitive existence, and honestly, probably never will again. Worldwide disasters had us lock ourselves indoors for over a year, and while the magical invention that Slippy is absolutely alleviated that competitive itch, nothing will ever stack up to two people sitting side by side playing their goddamn hearts out. Online tournaments did a fantastic job at keeping Melee's narratives alive and birthing plenty of rising stars, but we were desperately excited to see what the competition would look like without any ping checks and lag spikes. With all eyes on Melee's return, Smash Summit 11's bracket felt like a Scar script, with the rising stars playing to their perceived level and Hungrybox returning to the placements we expected to him before the conversations of throwing online. High-level Melee bounced right back. But of course, as you might expect with this entry being so high on our list, the Grand Finals was one of the best sets to ever happen, period. The online era paved the way for Mango and Zayn fighting for the #1 spot. Routinely going back and forth, their lifetime set count would be 13-11 in Zayn's favor, with Mango only playing Falco throughout it. While Zayn would only drop 2 games on his way to winner side grands and continue to prove just how fucking good he had gotten over quarantine, Mango's side wouldn't be as easy. Determined to bring the longtime benched Fox back at Summit 11, Mango would lose Game 5 to Amsa in the qualifying round, and then drop very early to Plup in the final bracket in Winners Round 1. A long overdue Losers Mango was needed to save the script, and his tweets wouldn't exactly indicate the best mentality. Switching to Falco and Losers, Mango would bounce right back, decisively beating Moki, Nun, and IBDW to make top 4, only dropping a single game. Getting his run back on Plup in Loser semis, the down bad Fox would make a return. And sure as shit, with the pressures turned up to 10, the Mango Fox would show up, convincingly beating both Plup and Hungrybox 3-1 and looking almost untouchable throughout it. The first and second seed would successfully meet in Grands. Game 1 would be extremely promising for the Mango Nation, with a full stock lead in a Marth at over 100%, but the iron will of Zayn would never break, finding a low percent Ken combo to steal the game. A last stock Game 2 would again go to the red Marth, but Mango would run back his counterpick on Dreamland for a Game 3 win, playing completely unhinged, but all of a sudden, this Grand Finals was looking out of reach, even for Mango. For newer viewers, Marth's counterpick against Spaceys on Final Destination is believed to be one of the strongest counterpicks in Melee due to the 0 to deaths and chain grab options that Marth has against Spaceys, and Zayn has been the strongest Marth on FD since Mewtwo wrote the book. But through aggressive and calculated neutral along with insane edge guards, Mango would steal a W on Zayn's strongest counterpick, but Game 5 was going right back to the stupid flat stage. With Zayn taking an early lead in Game 5 for the 3rd time in the set, Mango fans were again shaken up about the outcome. But through continued flawless edge guards and taking advantage of Zayn possibly being a bit nervous, the small invited crowd downstairs would scream as loud as a major, with a Shine edge guard from Mango ending the first set. After a couple swigs of water, the next set entailed nothing but close games and counterpick wins, with both competitors playing close to their peak. The most important Grand Finals in modern Melee would go to Game 10, completely nullifying the previous 9 games played. The only game that mattered now was the final Battlefield pick, and Zayn would again take an early lead. Pulling it back to even, not only were the last 9 games pointless now, so were the last 3 stocks, as a 0% last stock scenario would determine the winner of the biggest prize pool in Melee's history.
Oh, the shield drop.
Zayn dropping the punish.
That's it.
He goes the jump. Mango winning his first ever Smash Summit.
Mango and Zayn, 2 genuine friends who just so happen to be the best players in the current era, would hug it out during screams coming from across the globe and wear all of the emotions they had built up in the last half an hour of gameplay on their sleeve. This set was truly everything we could have possibly asked for from one of the most important events in Melee, and to this day, Mango has yet to lose a Game 10 set. And our most important Grand Finals of all time, Most 3, 2004. The King of Smash is steadily on top of the mountain that is competitive Melee. In the future, there will be documentaries and countless articles written about how much better Ken was than the rest of the pack. Taking first place at TG4, the first international Melee major, with countless of the best players in the world in attendance, Ken's continued dominance of first place finishes would last until TG6 almost 2 years later, taking a rare 9th place blemish on the record. Bouncing back and winning the finale of MLG's 2004 series in New York, the most important tournament to date, the thought of beating Ken on a good day was almost impossible, but there was one player who had a similar caliber of promise. While Azin, the East Coast Marth, and every other character main had been the biggest thing stopping Ken from winning the tournament, the Falcon main Isaiah was doing things in Melee years ahead of his time, starting to show the peak of what was possible in this game. In Grand Finals of MLG New York, Ken would be matched up with his consistent doubles partner and fellow Californian. While this doubles pair would go undefeated for the longest streak of any doubles team, the tournaments that featured a Ken vs Isaiah Grands would occasionally have signs of greatness. The Game 10 Grand Set at MLG New York 2004 just barely didn't make the cut for this video, but the signals of Melee's potential were undoubtedly present. Ken would take the final game after Isaiah reset the bracket, and one of the most important Grand Finals ever played up until that point would inspire countless old school Melee players. 2 months later, Dallas, Texas. Most 3 would feature an, at the time, groundbreaking 128 entrants, a number only accomplished by the biggest tournaments in the world. With competitors coming in from all over, we'd see the King of Smash making his way out. After Ken and Isaiah won doubles at the event, in winners finals of the singles bracket, Isaiah would shock the world by taking a set over Ken. While the footage is unfortunately not available, Isaiah would very rarely ever take a set in winners against his static teammate, and with the King of Smash taking the losers final set against Caveman, the stage was set for a long Grand Finals. Viewer, I'm not bullshitting you in any way. This was one of the most important Grand Finals in SSBM's history, and debatably one of the most meta-changing sets ever played. Throughout the course of this Grand Finals, it was abundantly clear that this was the highest level of Melee the scene had ever seen, as it truly was a constant back and forth of showcasing punish game, optimal 0 to death combos, and true adaptation between 2 competitors playing at some of their absolute best. With Ken going up 2-0 and being 1 game away from closing out the bracket, pretty much everyone in the venue believed that the task of Isaiah winning was now totally out of reach. But something clicked for Isaiah. While the Falcon main had been known to sandbag throughout his career, sometimes purposely not trying his hardest or even outright throwing, this one was different. Isaiah would come out the gate swinging in Game 3 and continue to bring this unseen level of Melee throughout the rest of the set. Taking back-to-back games, the set was now tied at 2-2, but Ken was again poised to reset the bracket with a 2-stock lead. But Isaiah would not only pull off a high % comeback to win the tournament, but influence the gameplay of Captain Falcon for years to come with combo strings that are still core to the character. In a Game 5, all of the pressure in the world scenario, Isaiah would find a stomp to knee to close out the set and successfully pull off the upset heard round the world. This set would go on to be one of the first viral videos in Melee's history and would get downloaded across the world via the old school Melee hub of DC++. This set inspired people to take Melee seriously. No longer was Melee being referred to as a solved game. No longer was the excuse of Ken is unstoppable a valid reason for not trying your hardest. If you want to win the biggest Melee tournament in the world, you have to put your blood, sweat, tears, and every bit of passion and motivation you have into this game, and maybe, just maybe, you can beat one of the best players to ever pick up a controller. Melee is not going anywhere. Time and time again, we have seen dominant competitors seem untouchable up until that one person comes along and fucks everything up. And that's exactly what this scene needs. This community needs people to believe they are able to do the impossible. This community needs to consistently overcome the biggest roadblocks in order to pave the road ahead. This community needs you. You have no excuse for not putting everything you have into the things that matter the most to you. When Wizrobe won Smash and Splash 5, not a goddamn soul in the venue thought he could do it before he did. When Zayn won Shine 2018, everyone in the world thought HBox was going to somehow prevail. When Isaiah beat Ken at Most 3, it inspired a community to be the best damn Melee players they could possibly be. And when you pick up that controller, put endless amounts of effort and dedication into this game, and conquer the bracket demon that is your own thoughts holding you back, you can become the next best thing for Melee. The sets mentioned in this video inspired a generation, era after era. Melee has been pushing steady for 20 years, and we at Allston Melee say cheers to the next 20 to come. But it will not be easy. There will be times when it is hard to believe in this community. There will be times when the outcome of the tournament feels decided weeks before the event. There will be times where playing the #1 player in the world feels like running into a brick wall. But that unbeatable player started out just like you. They thought they didn't have what it takes or didn't have enough years of their life put into this game until that moment they actually fucking believed in themselves and changed Melee in their own life. We encourage you to change this scene. There will be a day where the legendary top players of this era have retired. It will feel like the community isn't what it used to be, but someone will be there to create new narratives. Someone will be there to change everything we thought we knew about this game. Someone will change Melee, and it's up to you to do so. Good luck on your endless journey. Remember to never give up the dreams that you care about, and have fun playing the best damn video game ever made.
And to you, my friend, I say thanks for watching Allston Melee. If you've enjoyed any part of this 40-minute long video that took weeks to make, please hit that stupid red annoying button that says subscribe. The amount of people subbed to this channel unfortunately matters a ton for the videos getting a bigger viewer number. So even if you literally never check your subscription box, hitting that button really does generally help us out. Here's a Patty fun fact. Thanks to all of you, Patty can actually pay rent the money this channel generates, which is huge. So if you want to help hit our next stretch goal of Patty can eat food, like and share the video, leave a comment or two, or even head over to patreon.com/AllstonMelee. Over there we post a ton of behind the scenes content such as blooper reels, early updates on future videos, and even full read-throughs of scripts in podcast form. So if any of that interests you, or you just want to help out the boys in Allston, hit that Patreon link. Thanks for supporting Allston Melee, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Did it.